Hi, I'm Tyler and welcome back to our Explore First Light series. Today we're going to talk about the Newtonian, and specifically this is a 114 millimeter Newtonian with a 4.5 inch mirror. How these Newtonians work is light will enter through the main objective, bounce off the primary, hit the secondary, and goes right into our diagonal, or our rack and pinion with an eyepiece or our cell phone adapter. This has 40 millimeters of draw tube, and now all these telescopes come with a red dot finder, a 25 millimeter colossal, and a cell phone adapter. Now with these particular First Light telescopes, they always come with a couple of options as far as mounts. The EQ3, a nano mount, a Twilight 1, or an Alt-Az mount. Now with these particular telescopes, it is always recommended that you get multiple eyepieces. And I always recommend the 52 degree series that we see here, also with a focal extender. Usually 2 times is plenty enough. Now with these eyepieces, they are waterproof and argon purged, and they make a perfect addition to these telescopes to help you visually acquire what you're wanting to see. Now again, I hope you guys tune in for our next episode. We're going to be talking about our 80 millimeter refractor on the First Light series. And again, my name is Tyler, and I hope you have clear skies and keep looking up.
Hello, everybody. This is Scott Roberts with the Explorer Alliance live presentation of the OpenGOTO Community. And we got a nice group with us today. So let me bring them all on. Here we are. Okay. We've got Gary Palmer, our special guest today. He'll be talking about the Global Star Party number 14 that will happen this Saturday. Tyler Bowman, who you just saw in his one of his video series that he's doing on the First Light telescope series, which is great. Marts in specialty sales, and Heath Creekmore joining us in tech support. So we've got guys we have joining us today: James the astrophotographer, Book Davies, Bergman Scooter, Mike Wiesner. He says hello from the partly cloudy Southern California, Southern Arizona, excuse me. James the astrophotographer looks like he's going to have clear skies, so that's great. Wade Prunty's with us, Michael Whitaker, Jeff Wise. He says, is there any sound? I think sound. There's no sound at the very beginning of the show, but hopefully you heard the rest of it. No sound yet. Kent isn't into hot mics. They did, all the rest of the guys did mute themselves, so that's part of it. So, but you guys can unmute yourselves if you'd like to.
The bad thing is if I unmute myself, can't because my voice carries, then we'll have the back echo.
That's true. So Tyler and Heath all kind of sit together. So you guys wanted to know if you're getting the email today for the observatory, Ken. Yes, you are. Okay, that will happen today. And Jeff Y, let's see. Amaduri Biswaneth. Okay, I'd be interesting to know where you're watching from, Amaduri, but thanks for tuning in. Tim Myers is here, Nicholas Rocchio. Who else do we have? A lot of familiar faces. Kanan Lucas. And lots of chatter here. David Ings with us. James the astrophotographer. For the star party I took part in, I had 1,500 feet of extension cords running out into the field. Oh my God. That's crazy. And Wolfgang says, greetings from Germany to Chile. All right. So anyhow, I'm going to bring the stage to Gary Palmer, and he is, I think, are you not imaging right now? Is that right, Gary?
Yeah, I am, Scott. Hi, everyone. Yeah, currently imaging. Rare opportunity of clear sky in the UK. So,
right.
But over the last week it is anyway. So I think it was one of the star parties about 2 weeks ago that it was last clear, and we've had sort of rain and storms running through, but it's cleared up and looks like it might clear up for a couple of days now, here and there. So if I share the screen over, we are currently on M27. So that's running live images in at the moment on the FCD 102. So yeah, just running some test images on that at the moment, and they're looking pretty good. There's some nice data coming in.
Looks nice.
It stays like this, then we'll move off to a couple of targets. I just need to take another sort of 10 images on this and just have enough data there to check out then. So,
Gary, what camera are you using?
That is using the ASI 2600. Yeah, but we are using that in ROI, so we're using a small section of the sensor rather than the whole sensor. And that's the main test, really. We've done some full frame images. Now we want to run in close to objects and just run some images like that. And just give us loads more data to play around with and process up and post out some images.
Any type of filters or anything that you're using with that particular shot?
Just a box standard light pollution filter, the real sort of cheap $12 2-inch light pollution filter, and that is just to cut back on some atmospherics in front of the camera.
And did you?
Which you sometimes get, you don't always get, but you can never tell when that's going to come through.
And did you mention what scope you were using? I couldn't remember.
It's the FCD 102. Yeah, so yeah, that's all set up, and it's got a 0.7 reducer on there, I think, at the moment.
Hey, Gary,
So,
is that our field flattener focal reducer that's on it?
No, it's a third-party one at the moment. It's not quite accurate. It's almost there, but it's not quite there. I mean, if you look at the images, you'd be hard-pressed to tell. You've really got to start zooming into the images to find it in the corners, but it's just very slightly up. So, but we're using that just mainly to bring the back focus in. That's the key thing. It just helps us lock onto everything a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
You can find a lot when you pixel peep.
Yeah, you find that with any photo. You know, so it doesn't really worry me. At the end of the day, we still get a nice image out of it. And those styles, if they're slightly out in the corners, you can take those out with Photoshop. you can readjust them, use a dark blower in there, and you can remove the stars so they all look round.
Right. Jim Norwood is asking, he says, what software is good for live imaging, such as Gary is showing now?
I'm using SharpCat, and you can do your live stacking in that as well. But one of the beauties, if I just switch back over on that to a quick screen share, you see a little bit of cloud coming through there. It's not quite as sharp as the last image. But if we run down, one of the beauties in SharpCat Pro is the histogram. There's very, very few programs that have a histogram in them like this. This means that actually locating and centralizing targets are really, really easy, because even on 2 seconds, we've got a really good histogram stretch, and we can adjust this around. We can play around with this, and let me just get on the screen. There we go. So we can adjust this around to suit us, and it's only affecting what we're seeing on the screen. It doesn't affect the image in any way.
I see.
But that means if I was trying to centralize the target and locate it and maybe focus, I can actually see what's going on. And the biggest problem in most software on the market these days is it still runs with histograms from 20 years ago that are not accurate. If we wanted a more precise histogram, we can put this up at the bottom, and that would be what I would use for planetary or solar imaging. And when you compare this to others, it is really, really precise. So you've got the live stacking facility on here, so you can build your images in the actual software and just keep stacking them up. And that's great for live events or shows or different things. But we're capturing these as single frames at the moment. They're running on 180-second exposures with a 100 gain as a test at the moment. So the camera only came in a couple of days back, so it's the first run up with the camera.
What's the ROI that you selected on that particular one, Gary?
On that one there, we're actually using, if I move it back up, 2088 by 2088. So it's quite a small area, but it does show you that you can come in close to these objects, and you're actually using the abilities of the camera. So yeah, we're on a relatively small aperture. 102 millimeter aperture is not a large telescope by any means, but it means that when you've got a smaller target, we can get in close to them, and then all you need to do is take your dark frames and your flat frames in the same ROI, the same resolution, and then it will all subtract and it will all match.
We got Dustin Gibson watching right now too. It's nice. I see there's a number of people tuned in from the UK, a couple of people more anyways, also imaging, so you must have nice clear skies over there, which is great.
Yeah, I can just see a little bit of high cloud. They did say some will come through tonight, so that's why we're just running it as a few test images and not going full out. But I've managed to capture about 23 minute shots this evening so far, so that will do for starters, and we'll move on to something else if it clears.
Excellent. Well, you and I have been working on getting the Global Star Party number 14 ready for Saturday. This would be a European edition. I'm trying to figure out another way to describe the star parties, because you and I kind of had a conversation about this. They're all global star parties, right? So
yeah.
So I've been thinking about how to name them so that people understand what time frame they're in. I think that I need to use some sort of GMT marker, letting people know it's okay. It's going to be this slot, But we've had people from around the world join in. People doing solar imaging while these guys are doing nighttime imaging. I think that's really cool because it shows how dynamic that kind of star party can be. But who will be joining us from the UK so far?
We've got Steve is coming on. Andreas from Sweden is going to be on. Gary Varney from Florida is going to be on because people were asking about some planetary processing and some planetary imaging, and Gary's really good at that. So he's working away at the moment on the presentation for the show. And then we've got other people that David Levy's on.
Right, and so we'll have possibly, I think Simon Tang is finishing up a show. He was talking about sending his guys over to our show.
Excellent.
At Kevin Legore and 2 or 3 others that would be joining from the state. So I think that'll be good. You know, any of you listening out there, you want to be part of this, you can drop myself an email. You can send it over to s@explorescientific.com, and we can find room for you.
And let's be clear here. That's the initial of Scott's name, S at Explore Scientific. It's that simple.
And I typed it into the chat. So it's not F or like Frank, it's S for Scott. That's right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the imaging rig I'm starting to put together. So I'm getting lots of help from Jerry Hubble, who's been through my system setting up software. I'll have Gary kind of do a once over on it and bless it. Probably have him actually run it remotely because we need some remote tests with it. And then once we deem it's really ready to fly, we're going to make it another telescope that people can access remotely and during our global star party, and take a few images. So that'll be cool.
Hey, Scott, did I see it getting a set of wheels put on it?
Yeah, we're trying to put some wheels on the bottom of it without spending a ton of money. We have these inserts that would go into the bottom of the tripod, but that will require some special machining. For this, I'd like to avoid the machining costs. So I'm thinking about just welding some casters onto the bottom of it, and then having threaded rods that could go down to level out the tripod when we're ready. So I just want to make it complete.
Did you not want to carry it outside and carry it back inside and tear it down and put it up? I mean, it's portable, right?
That's what I do all the time.
I just want it set up. Okay. I took lessons from Ayub and some of these other guys and just roll it in and out. Okay. So
you need one of the pulsar domes in the car park. Yeah.
Yeah, we could. Actually, we have like this little island that's in the middle of our parking lot, but I'd have to dig out a tree to put it in there. So it's not a very big tree just yet.
If it was big enough, we could use the tree as the pier. Just cut it off and make a
big enough for a
pier.
Not big enough for a pier, but that tree there is a really strong tree because we actually rolled a truck over it when we first moved into the building. And I thought, well, that tree's done, and then it grew back to be this large tree that you see today. So we haven't been here that long. But I'm excited about putting this system together. This platform will also be something that our engineers, they want to get into astrophotography themselves. They've been building telescopes for years, decades actually, and making systems that are used in astrophotography, but they haven't done really nice astrophotographs themselves. And so they're anxious to get into that. Let's see, I'm looking to see if there's any comments here that I need to voice. It looks like you guys are talking amongst yourselves. So, and that's just fine. That's just fine. Let's move on to Tyler. Tyler, you've been doing this nice series on First Light. Are you enjoying this?
I am. I'm hoping that I'm able to interpret or give everybody the information that they need starting out. So a lot of feedback would be helpful from the viewers, just to see if there's anything that they want me to discuss more or less, or anything of the certain, because they'll help me help you in a way.
Which will help us.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. No, I think it's good. I mean, you've been here how long now at Explore Science?
Months.
Yeah, and you jumped right in and started making videos, and I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Not everybody wants to jump in front of the camera and reveal to the world what they know about something. So
I still get nervous, but
yeah, it's a good nervous, you know. So that's a
yeah,
good.
it's the jitters.
That's cool, though. That's cool. So, what is happening? Anything special happening with the forum, the OpenGOTO community?
Everything's been kind of quiet. There's been a recent development with a gentleman with an Android tablet that's having an issue with star aligning. He says that the app will just completely shut down when he tries to do a star alignment. So we've reached out to him to see if we can't kind of probe him for some more information as far as what version he has, what kind of tablet of Android he has, his LAT and LAN settings, site location, the time, and what the alignment values are, so we can help further diagnose what could be possibly going on.
What he's got.
What he may not be doing or doing right, because me being here for 2 months, this is the first time I've heard of this, and there's been multiple Android users that have success with this system.
Sure.
So that's the concerning part, is we got to help him figure it out quickly so he can get back to enjoying the stars in the sky.
One of the issues we've run into with the Android is because it's an open platform, there's all sorts of different flavors and versions and modifications. And we've had some people who have had some non-standard versions before, that once we got them on a standard version, things settled down and started working. It could be that. The customer's in Europe, so that's adding a layer of complexity to it. And I believe doesn't speak English. So that, adds some translation value problems as well. But, it's a good exercise in troubleshooting. Tyler's been working it really hard today.
Daving, he says, I'm happy to jump in front of the camera and show the world that I know very little. But of
All right,
course,
Dave, come on down.
that's always good. That's true, Dave. That's very true. I always found getting in front of people and giving talks and lectures. When I first started in this whole thing, Halley's Comet, it was the era of Halley's Comet. Okay. I actually get started in 1980. By 1985, it had not occurred to me that I should be out there giving lectures of any kind. I was just busy trying to outfit people through OPT, where I was working. And, and although I was being interviewed regularly by newspapers and that kind of thing about astronomical goings-ons and stuff like that. But it wasn't, pretty soon special interest groups wanted to know more about Halley's Comet. And so I did not know very much at all about comets. I was fascinated, like everybody was, that Halley's Comet was coming and it was going to be historic and all the rest of it. But my first talk was for a women's group in Oceanside, and there were 500 people in the audience at that time. And so, I'm up there, and I know that this is going to be happening, and I'm shaking in my boots. I am so nervous about giving this. I'm all of about 25 years old, and I wanted to find people that were experts so I could learn more, get up to speed quickly about what comets were and what was special about Halley's Comet. And so I reached out to two people. One of them was Steve Edberg, who was working at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and he started a program project called International Halley Watch. And so I got a lot of information from him. I'm writing down all these notes, and he encourages me to join International Halley Watch. And so that was the first pro-am project I was involved with. And we just did visual observations of Halley's Comet on its inbound in 1985. That was cool. The second person I reached out to, I had heard that there was this dirty snowball theory about comets. And a guy named Fred Whipple was the guy that came up with that. So I thought, well, heck, I got to talk to Fred Whipple, you know? So I called the Oceanside Public Library. This is pre-internet, of course, you know? And I talked to the information secretary there, and she says, oh, well, let me look up where you can find Fred Whipple. And she finds the university he was working at. And so I cold called that university, and he picked up the phone. So from Fred Whipple himself, okay, of the dirty, you know, creating this theory of the dirty snowball, which is in fact, you know, what comets are. They're made of ice and water ice and all kinds of primordial or organic compounds and stuff. So this is, you know, as it comes to close to the sun, it sublimates and turns ice directly into gas. The solar wind blows out an ion tail, and then that curved yellow tail you see is reflected dust, you know, from its orbit. And so it was really fascinating to kind of learn about comets that way and just be thrust onto the stage, you know, to talk about these things. I got a lot of things wrong though while I was talking about the comets, and would have to take my lumps, correct what I was saying, and get right back up and do it again. I think all in all, I gave like 20 or 30 lectures during that time. So that helped me get over some of my shyness of being in front of people. But it was all good. It was all good. I did learn a lot. And you make a great point there, Dave, about learning more. So
you definitely do learn more. I feel more comfortable talking to people than I do in front of a camera. I don't know why.
Well, it's weird talking in front of a camera, you know. I think a little bit, you know. I think that when you're in front of a camera, I mean, you have to visualize that maybe behind that little lens on that little window is all your friends are out there, you know. So I
try. Doesn't work.
Tyler, just put a picture of Scott on top of the camera, yeah, and then just talk to them.
We don't want to really.
Why don't I just do you, Gary?
That'd be better. Yeah, that'd be better. So, but you know, we're very, very casual. As you can tell from watching our shows, we don't really. There's no scripts here, and there's no, you know, we're not afraid to make mistakes. We make them right on the air. So. But we are here to genuinely engage with you guys and to answer as many questions as we can, and to hang out and have fun with you guys. So it really helps out a lot. Tim Meyer says, let's get cardboard cutouts of people from this stream. That's right. So anyhow, he'll get over it. We'll just beat him into it. We'll make him come on the air so many times that it'll just seem second nature. So the next person we're going to talk to here is Heath Creekmore. Heath is working in tech support, and so I'm going to take the spotlight off of Tyler and me. Well, you got the stage, Heath. How's it feel?
Woohoo! It's good.
It feels good. And
Top of the world.
United States Space Force.
Yeah.
Did you just signed up and I'm going to lose you, or what's happening? No.
I mean, I would like to go, but you know, my wife would probably kill me before I got there. So
okay, that would be tough. Yeah.
I'll stay alive. You know.
A better plan.
Yeah.
Maybe you can go up as a space tourist later. So right.
Definitely. No, it's on my list.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what do you see out there? I mean, we're going through this Mars opposition, which the peak of it will be this Saturday. Mm-hmm. You know, during the same time that we're doing Global Star Party, which is kind of cool. Are you getting questions about this? Are you seeing new people coming in, or beginners, or what's happening?
I'd say there's a good mix between new people coming in and buying a starter scope, what I would call a starter scope, and there's also a good mix of people trying to get their stuff fixed before.
They feel like the last minute, you know.
Oh yeah.
Procrastinate, then they'll panic because they got to get the product there. Good Lord, some people send stuff overnight
Yeah.
to get things done. And that's a real expensive way to go.
Yeah.
So we could do a whole show about what you should do to make sure that you're maintaining your equipment properly, because things can go wrong, and they will go wrong just before it's really important. Okay, so
Murphy strikes again.
that's right. That's right. That's right. So, well, that's cool. And you are you giving any special advice? Anything in general that is helping people out, or is it just across the board, all kinds of different questions?
Oh, there's all kinds of different questions. I was helping a guy yesterday with his field flattener and focal reducer,
Right.
and yeah, he needed an adapter, and he's still having trouble finding it, even though I gave him the exact part and everything. Yeah, it's all across the board. It really is.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So, well, very cool. Well, we'll have to get you in front of the camera and do a presentation too. So,
Sure.
yeah, pick it, man.
Sounds good.
We'll do it.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Definitely.
And who are we going to next? We're going to go to Kent and the world of specialty dealer sales and what's going on with that.
Well, I've been sitting here, as if you've been watching, I've entered a couple of sales orders that have come in, trying to take care of the dealers and get those orders processed while we've been on the broadcast. So orders are still coming in. My fear has been that because there was such a huge surge of interest in astronomy from really starting in mid-April and sustaining until recently, that it may fall off as we get to Christmas. So the Christmas, everybody's already bought the stuff they want for Christmas, and so they're not going to, and we're going to see a fall off. Haven't seen that happen yet. So in talking with the dealers, that's their fear as well, is that it's done for the year and it just got done early. But we're still seeing the dealers are still having a strong position on products. And, was one really big order that's in the works. That's exciting order, but lots and lots of stuff going on, plenty of things to deal with, and customers coming to customer service through the dealers as well.
Right. For dealers, I tend to think of them as outfitters. It's always a time of high anxiety during things like this. Now, because of the pandemic, it made for a very strange, weird situation that none of us expected. Okay, all of us in the industry expected a huge downturn, not an upturn, and so that has made its own set of circumstances pretty challenging. When we had Dustin Gibson on for the last Global Star Party, he talked at length about that we felt that we were letting some customers down because of the demand on customer service. You can't just, if you're running a telescope shop and all of a sudden there was a huge uptick, and I'm talking about in a matter of a week or two, where sales go up 300 or 400% like they did during this, right after the announcement of the pandemic here in the United States. You can't hire fast enough. You can't train fast enough. And then you get a tidal wave of interest and new orders and stuff like that. Usually what happens is if we had like a big comet or something really spectacular happened in the sky and the news got behind it, you get a similar kind of effect. What happens after that event leaves is a giant drop off. So if you could hire people up, okay, to offer technical advice and do all the rest of it, you got to let them go afterwards, okay? Because the sales, it saturates, the business saturates, and then it drops off. So it's a very volatile business from that perspective. And so I understand the anxiety that the dealers are going through right now, wondering, gosh, when is it going to slow down? When is it going to do I hire more people? Like OPT hired a bunch of more people into their company. We hired more people too. But you have to be conservative and wise about it because you want those people to still be employed after the tsunami. So that's the reality of it. But I think that what we are seeing, Kent, you can tell me if I'm wrong, or Heath, I think what we're seeing is so many new people coming in that we're going to see a strong growth in the community of amateur astronomers. We were hearing that also from Chuck Allen from the Astronomical League during the last Global Star Party, of the greater interest in joining up with the Astronomical League as a member. Amateur astronomers have so many options now for support and to be involved in our community. We're online just like we are now. We are broadcasting around the world at live images, just like Gary did just a few minutes ago. And so we're able to host the global star parties. Explore Scientific is layering on even another layer of support with the Explore Alliance for people that become members, whether they're joining for free or they're a paid member. We have lots of benefits as far as additional support for them. And, and then we're working as closely as we can with, the largest federation of astronomy clubs in the world, which is the Astronomical League. And we also recently joined the Night Sky Network. So we're getting involved with that as well. And we have a great audience. We've learned so much from them, and and they are not only very supportive of what we're doing, but brilliant in their own right. And we'd like to have more of them on the Global Star Parties. So if you haven't been on before, consider signing up and joining and being a part of that. But I think that's all I have to say for today. Do you guys have any other final comments?
Yeah, Scott, when you're talking about, hiring people off the street, there are jobs that you can hire people off the street for and they'd be successful immediately. But when you're talking about having to teach somebody astronomy from the ground up, you have to have the right person for the job to begin with. And they're not as common as pebbles on a beach or, sand on a beach.
No, there are people that are very knowledgeable about amateur astronomy, but they don't want to be on the phones. They don't want to really interact with people day in and day out and answer often the same questions day in and day out. So that takes a special attitude.
I love it.
I
I personally love it. I don't mind if it's the same question over and over and over again. I can help somebody achieve what they want to achieve, and that brings satisfaction to what I do.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes an extended period of time. We'll have people finally get through and go, gosh, you guys aren't answering your phone. And we hang up and take another call immediately. But, I've had calls that have lasted 3 hours.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. But, this is, we live in an instantaneous gratification world, so never before did we have this kind of interconnectivity with internet and social media and chats and all the rest of it. I was trying to explain to Michelle, who works here, she's a young lady, and what it was like back in the 80s when I was the only customer service rep for Mead Instruments, and getting 20 pieces of mail a day in an envelope, okay? And then getting on my typewriter and typing out the responses to those letters. We had a rule that, if a letter came in that day, it had to be answered that day. So there was a little bit to it. You had to use business form writing. Your grammar had to be correct. No chat language it wasn't even invented yet, but you could not put in little memes or any kind of short descriptors. It had to be formal. Okay.
How was the spell checker? How was the spell checker on that?
I
I could
had
have sworn I thought he had a rock and chisel.
I did,
That sort of reminded
so anyways,
that sort of reminded me of the thermal fax machine. Yeah, where you used to come into the office, yeah, and there'd be a big roll of thermal fax on the floor.
yeah, the
Yeah,
big papers and stuff that was,
yeah.
yeah, I remember that too. We even had a teletype machine at Mead Instruments where it would come in and you could hear it going like that, and this is how we communicate with manufacturers overseas, so that this was before fax. So yeah, there's been just wave after wave of technology, communication technology that we have, and it's gotten cheaper. You made a phone call overseas. I mean, if Gary and I called each other in the 1980s, we probably would have spent $2 a minute talking to each other.
It's
That was
not a bit more.
$2 accounted for today's dollars. It was $2 then. Okay, so it's expensive. It was not uncommon if you worked overseas, and I did for a while, to have a $2,000 a month phone bill. Okay, so it was really nuts. But free and easy access has changed the world. And I asked Michelle how many emails she gets a day, and she says, "Oh, about 300 or 400 a day." Okay, and it's just if you'd gotten that much mail, you would have had to be a rock star back then. Okay, so,
Yeah.
So I just looked up $2 in 1980.
Yeah.
Is worth $6.75 today. So let's call it $7 a minute.
$7 a minute. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. If you called someone overseas, it had better be an emergency. Okay, so, or their birthday or something. So it was a big deal. And a lot of the people watching us have memories of this kind of stuff too. Tim Meyer says, "I used to repair card readers and punch machines at the Air Force DAVE. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I think the Air Force or AF. Anyhow, yeah, Dave Ing says IBM 029/129. So very interesting. But, astronomers are the early adopters of all of this technology. We were some of the first people to use email, some of the first guys to use the internet, probably some of the first people to place orders online, that kind of stuff. So we're pretty comfortable being online. And, so we'll continue to use this technology at its best and push the envelope where we can. So, because that's what we always do. Chuck Lewis, who gave a talk about Space Lab, he's on with us today, and he says Space Lab's experiment computer had 8K of RAM. That was the bleeding edge back then.
Yeah, and Jeff Weiss replied, 8K, wow, each bit counted. Well, there was only 8 of them, so they really counted.
That's true. That's true. And online bulletin boards. Yes, that's right. So anyhow, it's been great having everybody here today. Gary, thank you for joining us.
That's all right.
See you.
Pleasure as always.
That's going to get started at 4 o'clock Central over here. And we will, are you going to be going after anything special, Gary?
We'll just see we just have to take the weather as it goes. Yeah. We might even set up a planetary rig and jump onto Mars for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then if Gary's on the show, he can tell us how bad our seeing is and how good his is.
Right. Great.
Hey, Scott, there was a question for us in the stream. Wolfgang asked Gary, I have an APO with a flattener. When I use a reducer, will it make any effects by the stars?
Providing the spacing is correct, it shouldn't. Yeah, the same with all of these flatteners and reducers. They all have different spacing. Every single model has a different spacing limit. So even though a camera manufacturer might add spacers in as a package and say it's 55 millimeters, that's a general across the board figure. It just depends on the length of the telescope as to the type of field flattener that's used with it. So
Do you also find that even within individual brands, say an Explore Scientific device, while it says it's 55 millimeters of spacing, it really might be 56 or 57 or 54. It just because it's not dead exact.
yeah, and that's also because if we can use a second, we can just use this as an example that we talk about mating surfaces, and what we mean by the mating surface is there. Yeah, that's the actual mating surface. And the mating surface can change depending on what adapters you use. So you could screw one adapter on and it doesn't go completely down to the mating surface, which means we've maybe added 2 millimeters to our measurement there.
Yeah.
Or we could get another one that screws in too far for some reason, and we've actually subtracted, so now we're coming in too close.
And getting customers to understand those differences
That
is
is
a challenge.
There are different charts around, but it's also precise measurement. I use a steel rule, or you can use calipers, digital calipers, those sorts of things. But most manufacturers have a tolerance of plus or minus 1 or 2 millimeters on there, so there is a slight fraction. But you might also find that you need more spacing in front of the actual focuser. So some of the telescopes come with those spacers, and it does take some time to put these things on. I actually do this in the daytime. I've got a mountain about 3 miles away, and it's got a little fence that runs across the top of it. And I put the telescope onto the fence, one of the fence posts there. Yeah, and then I work it out, and I just move the telescope up into the corner of the image. And if the post is still straight, then you're pretty much on target for the stars. If it's not, if you find that it's moving off and it's kinking out, then normally your spacing's out somewhere. But you can do it. I think the key thing is what I'm trying to get at is you could do this in the daytime and save yourself hours. So even if you get that fence post into focus, you've just saved yourself 10 minutes at the back of the telescope when you can be imaging. So maybe a line in finder scopes, find that object in the eyepiece, put your finder scope onto the telescope, and then align the finder scope onto that object. And you've done that in the daytime. And it's really, really easy when you set up of a nighttime then.
Hey, Gary, have you learned to tell from the way the fence post warps?
Yeah.
If you're in or out, right? There's a way, correct?
Yeah. And it's just looking at it on the screen. And like I say, the cameras do vary. Quite often you have to zoom right up on the camera. So you use the zoom facility on it. And move over into the corner of the image, and also go over to the other corners. You might find you've got when we end up with lots of adapters and lots of different things, we end up with a lot of weight on a focuser, and you can find that maybe moving a telescope around on its mount that changes, and that can make a big difference to your images. So you could find that you end up with a large dark area on one side and not on the other side. And it's nothing apart from the equipment not being actually screwed together tightly. Yeah, so it's just got a little bit of movement, and it only needs that fraction, 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter of movement, and then it's all gone. Some cameras, a lot of the cameras now are coming out with adapters on the front to adjust that tilt out. So you can actually adjust the tilt of the imaging train out. So it might just be that you've got a lot of weight on there, and that's the way the telescope's going to be. But you can now take that out in the system.
Just like an old Scott. What were those? What do they call the the cameras where the front and back tilted. They use them for architectural photography.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
use view cameras.
Yeah, view camera. There we go.
There's what it really is trying to do as much work in in the daytime. So you're removing that time you're losing of a nighttime. If you're limited on your skies and that, you're saving yourself a lot of work by doing some of this work in the daytime. All of those aligning things and maybe balancing and a multitude, even playing with the camera. Yep. Your image might be upside down and there might be all sorts of other things going on, but you can work out your focus. You can start jotting down the numbers of where the camera comes to focus. If a mountain's 3 miles away, that's almost at infinity. So you're only going to be within a couple of millimeters of that once you jump up onto the stars.
Right. Right. Well, okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. And I think we're going to call it quits for the day, and we will see you tomorrow. And then on Saturday as well. So you guys, as Jack Horkheimer always said, keep looking up, and we will not leave a light on for you. We'll make it dark. Okay. So there you go. Thank you very much. And keep looking up, everybody. Take care.